Hello and welcome to another video Hangout. Today we're hanging out with Mark Tutssel, who's Global Creative Officer, Chief Creative Officer of Leo Burnett Worldwide. Got to get the title right always with these things.
So lots of words.
Thanks very much for joining us today, Mark.
Pleasure.
How are you finding camp?
Exciting, as always. I mean, this is the one week in the calendar year that the whole industry comes together to focus on the most important thing, the quality of our ideas. And as always, it's a rich tapestry of new thinking. It's ideas that really exemplify best in class in terms of creativity in all of the channels we now operate in. I think it's drawing the right type of people to the south of France, not only the industry itself, but the technology industry is here en masse, from Google right through to Facebook and Twitter and others, AOL, etc. And more importantly, the client community. And this is something that's grown over the course of the last 5 to 6 years, where creativity right now is no longer an option. And the people who realize that more than anybody are the client community. So the worldwide chief marketing officers of virtually every blue chip brand on the planet are here en masse to find the best ideas, discover the people behind the best ideas, the thinking that led to those ideas, the amplification and activation of those ideas, and really to learn, to be inspired by, and to take best-in-class thinking, best-in-class execution back to their brands, and then to apply accordingly to elevate the brand to the next level. So it's kind of a feeding frenzy, really, and I've always thought Cannes has changed from an advertising award show, which it was historically, which basically was predominantly in film, and now I think it's become much more about inspiration and education. And it really is an incubator for new ideas. It's a breeding ground for new ideas. Ideas are seeded here and planted for the future. And I think everything is designed to challenge the status quo, to look at the category norms and ask ourselves the questions: are we doing the best we possibly can in the channels we have available? And more importantly, it's a celebration of the best work. And of course, in an industry that has an output of, God knows, gazillions of pieces of work on a calendar year, we're only talking about the 37,000 pieces that the industry believe are best in class, of which those are whittled down to a short list, and obviously only the cream rises, and the goals that represent the best in class in terms of creativity in the calendar year 2014 will be on show at the Palais de Festival during the course of the week at the various award shows. I think it's a great joy to be here, as always.
And sort of latching onto that theme, what have you seen so far that you've liked, or you've enjoyed, and have you seen anything that's maybe surprised you that you hadn't seen before?
I think not surprised me, but actually maybe really rethink the type of work that we do. Storytelling, of course, is what we do. We're natural storytellers. We always have been. We always will be. Technology has opened up this infinite rich canvas that allows us now to tell our stories in different ways. And storytelling, as we know, is no longer linear, and we have to create a storyline that you can access from different portals at different times. But the overarching storyline is obviously the most important piece. The one thing that I've seen that really has registered on the Richter scale is the work of Volvo. In our rush as an industry to the future, we mustn't lose the past. We can learn from the past, and it's not an either-or world, it's an and world. Of course, technology amplifies and activates ideas and allows ideas to connect one-to-one with people in real time. But I think if you look at the one piece not only the industry is talking about, I think the planet is talking about, is the muscles from Brussels. Claude Van Damme, a beautiful, mesmerizing, hypnotic track from Enya, a classic product demonstration of stability. You mash those three things together and you have moving pictures that ultimately move people. And I think it's captivated the imagination of the world. And it's a time-honored execution that could have been executed at Cannes and awarded at Cannes 20 years ago.
It's an interesting one that as well, because obviously it's not a mass market execution, is it? You know, that's business to business in many ways.
Business to business. I think the platform that they created within the test series obviously, allowed the idea to develop and shape itself and scale in different portals. But given the subject matter and given the target audience, it just demonstrates that if you create an idea that has magic, that has visceral human connective tissue, and an idea that you don't think that you feel, then I think it just shows, for me, it just demonstrates that we're all capable of producing work of that level, and I think it's a piece that we all learn from. Another theme that is sort of top of mind is rooted in storytelling, but just rooted in understanding of family life. The theme of families seems to be in a lot of work this year, and work that I honestly believe will make it their way to the podium. The first is rooted in family life around Christmas time for Harvey Nichols. It's just a very simple story of family life around the Christmas tree on Christmas morning, and the giving of presents. And somebody who spent all of the money on themselves at Harvey Nicks and has the imagination to deliver these beautifully packaged, beautifully designed, meaningless presents to the assembled family. A great idea, rooted in human behavior, rooted in a lovely storyline that speaks volumes of that brand, and is so fresh, so inventive, and uses every contact point to connect to people. You continue that theme of families. There's a beautiful piece from New Zealand called Blaze for the government for drug driving, and there's a belief from the Maori population, particularly the males, that driving stoned is okay, is acceptable. And again, it's a beautiful story of children mimicking their parents. So 3 little children in a car playing out what they see, what they experience with their parents as they drive stoned. Amazing, amazing storytelling. Absolutely acting second to none. The director, who's obviously a very famous Maori director, has extracted absolutely world-class performances from the children in question, and the storyline rooted in family behavior is second to none. And then you move to the USA, and 2 great examples I think will make it to the stage on Saturday night. The first from Old Spice, and you always expect the work from Old Spice to be amazing, because the bar is very, very high, and they consistently produce work that resonates with people, that entertains people, that engages people, that dramatizes the product benefit in new ways. And Mom Song is fantastic. Just the story of moms who lost their children, lost their teenage sons to manhood, is second to none. And the way they did it is just remarkable. I mean, it's so bang on brand, so entertaining, so engaging. It's so fresh, and speaks volumes of that brand. And also from the United States, the HBO Go campaign. A universal truth about family life that everybody can identify with, regardless of geography or culture. Sitting on the sofa, watching television and watching risky TV with your mum and dad. The most uncomfortable moment in time to spend with any parent is sitting and watching people making out on the TV in front of you. And again, such a simple human insight, great storytelling, great dialogue, beautifully cast, great directorial talent, lovely human story running through the veins of it, and a great product demonstration and a product benefit. So there seems to be a lot of real-life storytelling, told in new ways, in fresh ways, in imaginative ways, in humorous ways. But I think there's a sort of consistency of thought throughout each one of those. Long content, long format now obviously is playing a greater part because of technology, and we're seeing some very interesting work from around the world, particularly for climate change from the USA. A beautiful piece that has been awarded at many shows to date, and I'm sure is destined to win big at the latter part of the week. And of course, then there's the Battle of Cool from Guinness. We have the gentlemen from the Congo, who dress up to the nth degree and celebrate their style. They are ultimate style mongers, and I think the work for Guinness is beautiful and one of the great pieces this year. There's a lot of interesting stuff. But one of one of the interesting things this year, we talk a little bit about going back to the past to the product demonstration, courtesy of Volvo. But if you look at the oldest medium of all, outdoor, the highest number of entries of any category at Cannes this year has been in outdoor. And it just shows that the new life that's taken on as a result of technology has just ignited people's imagination and given them the tools to interact with society in fresh new ways. And I talk a lot about not outdoor, but theatre of the streets. How do you create theatre in the streets that really capture people's imagination, that grab you by the eyeballs and draw you in, create participation, create entertainment, and create human reward? And the work from the UK for British Airways is stunning. It tracks in real time the planes as they fly into Heathrow Airport. On the flight path, they identify not only the plane, but the number of the plane, the origin of the plane, and then obviously the destination is Heathrow. And that lovely little human touch of children, every time they see a plane in the sky, they point up to the sky. So a little child wakes up, walks across the poster, and points to the identified plane as it lands at Heathrow, London Heathrow in the UK. Beautiful use of technology, great visual drama, and I think it serves the brand idea of serving people. We fly, we serve. And again, I think it's opened up everybody's imagination to the power of outdoor as a medium, as a screen, and it gives us some real clues there. And obviously, everything that we see, everything that we've consumed here, has had digital mobile running through its spine. And social potency is huge, and really, I think, dramatized by lots of amazing cases. One particular case that's captured the imagination of all of the juries and all of the channels, and has captured the imagination of many juries to date, is for ABTO, which is the Association of Organ Donations in Brazil, called Bentley Burial. And it's a beautiful story of a real-life character who is one of the richest men in Brazil, a billionaire, a multi-billionaire, and he's a cross between Donald Trump and Hugh Hefner. This character, second to none, who walks around with a white cockatoo called Baby. And he went to a Tutankhamun exhibition, and he marveled at the pharaohs, and he was fascinated by the afterlife, that the pharaohs buried with them their material wealth, their gold chariots, their clothing, their jewelry, their money, their food for the afterlife. So he was so taken by this idea, he makes one post on Facebook and declares to the world that he's decided to bury his $500,000 Bentley in the grounds of his house. And just to make sure that he was serious, he posted 5 more times, so 6 times in total he posted that he was about to do this particular act. There was social meltdown. The whole country basically turned on him. How wasteful, how it was bordering on criminal that he was prepared to just allow $500,000 to be thrown into the bowels of the earth. And there was such sort of media hype around it. So the day of the burial came, and the media circus ascended on the grounds of his palatial home overlooking the ocean. And just as the vehicle, this beautiful brand spanking new £500,000 Bentley, was about to go into the bowels of the earth, he called a halt to the proceedings and ushered everybody into the house and said to everybody, what an incredible waste. $500,000 that could have been put to use in so many ways and served such a higher, a much greater purpose. And another waste, and probably even a greater waste, is each day we bury ourselves with our organs. And it was the launch of Organ Donation Week in Brazil. It literally ignited this social conversation. It created a participation platform on the scale that we've never seen before, and it spread like wildfire through the media veins of the country. And people in the street, famous people on television, famous actors, famous newscasters, were publicly declaring the fact that they would donate their organs to people in the future. And I think organ donations increased by 37 to 40%, which is remarkable given the subject matter and the nature of the particular brief. So that, for me, is social potency of the highest order. I mean, that's social dynamite. And I wasn't surprised to see Bentley Burial not only win every major Grand Prix to date coming into Cannes, it also took one of the only 2 gold Facebook Studio Awards this year for best use of Facebook as a platform. And it just demonstrates the power of Facebook as a platform. One simple, potent post, one beautiful idea designed to create interaction and a reaction. It just shows the potency of that platform and platforms like it to create that conversation with people. So I think it was a great lesson to be had there. And obviously I'm not surprised to see it winning a litany of gold lions at Cannes this year, because I think it's a great use of that particular space, and more importantly I think it's just an amazing idea.
Bring you back to something that you touched on earlier around the sort of the classic crafts and not losing sight of those. I was in 2 juries this morning, both print and the radio juries, who judges on both of those panels bemoaned sort of loss of skills within those spaces. And the print jury pointed to some of these entries that were coming in and saying, but now we've got Facebook, which actually, when you make an ad for it, is essentially a print ad. So you're just sort of changing the means of that. But are we losing these skills? Do we have less radio specialists now? Are we sort of doing less in the print form, because obviously newspapers are in decline in many of the Western countries?
Yeah, I think again, 2-dimensional communication is still alive. 2-dimensional communication may be on a page in Facebook, and it may be in a magazine, it may be in a newspaper, it may be as a poster. I don't think we as a human race have lost our ability to read, consume. I think we as an industry have lost our ability to write. And there is a deficiency, particularly in writing. You don't see many beautifully crafted, beautifully written pieces anymore. And if you think back historically, in that particular category, the print category, look no further than The Economist. The late, great genius David Abbott was the master of the written word and had the ability to create stories and use words so powerfully, so beautifully to connect to people in fresh new ways. I think the craft that's required, not only in writing but also in art direction, in photography, and in illustration, in the way we compose a piece of communication in a 2-dimensional format, that clearly doesn't have the focus that it had certainly when I grew up in the industry, because everybody has been drawn towards technology and this rush to produce new world connective tissue. We've forgotten the old skill crafts, but it's still a craft and still a skill that we need. Where that particular 2-dimensional piece appears, because it can appear on a TV screen, it can appear on a mobile screen, it can appear on any screen, and also it can appear on paper. So we still need those craft skills. We still need to be able to tell stories in a very distilled, concise, clear way.
So how do we get that back? Because obviously everyone's rushing to the future, as you say, and young creatives coming in aren't necessarily, I guess, getting the training from the old school, the old guard, who are going out of the industry now, and aren't necessarily going to want to spend a lot of time learning these skills, which are only going to be a very small, maybe a much smaller part of the job than they traditionally were. How do you instill that? And do you see it?
I don't think it's a case of teaching old skills or old styles. I think it's words and pictures. And it's like the debate we've had stupidly for the last 2 or 3 years about the death of television. We as a human race have this incredible affection for film. We love film. We love the movies. We absolutely are fascinated by moving imagery. And moving pictures have this incredible ability to tell stories, to create an emotional, visceral connection with people, and to celebrate brands in fresh new ways, in original ways, in ways that connect to people and ideas that last through the course of time. But there's an interesting thing that happened again. They stopped calling it television, and now they call it film. And of course we live in a screen age. And in a screen age we're talking about film that lives on all screen sizes and all shapes and all sizes and all places. But the art of telling a story through motion pictures still remains the same. It's still a story beautifully told. And we still read newspapers. We still read magazines. You know, we may read magazines off tablets, but we still read books. You know, I walked along La Croisette last night, and there were people sitting on benches the length of the Croisette, reading newspapers, reading books, sat in the late sunshine of the day. You know, people lying on the beach reading magazines. So, you know, it's still part of the communication landscape. Okay, it may very well be eroding, but it's still a very important part of that landscape, and still important that we use that channel while it still lives to the best of our ability. So I think training is important. I think, you know, again, composition, words and pictures working together, creating powerful combinations, art direction and writing, you know, be it for television, film, or be it for two-dimensional print, or be it for outdoor. I mean, the ability to communicate with words and pictures is the way we connect. Language is everything. It's the quality of the writing, I think, is changing, and I think we need that writing back, and we need the writers, the wordsmiths, the people who have the ability to create really beautiful narrative in fresh new ways. And I think that's slowly coming back, because after the last 2 or 3 years of being seduced and sucker punched by technology, thinking it was the answer, it's just a facilitator. We have more opportunity to connect to people in more ways than we've ever dreamed of before. We have data in abundance at our fingertips. We have so many tools available. But it's not about contacting to people, because, you know, connecting to people has never been easier because of technology. But connecting with, emotionally with, to create participation, involvement, human connection requires content. You know, words, pictures, motion pictures, music, you know, all of the building blocks of modern day communication are still alive, still powerful, still potent, and in the hands of intelligent, future-facing people will still serve a purpose. It was interesting, actually, because in my apartment in Chicago, I have one poster on the wall, and it's the Hope poster for Obama.
Oh, yes.
And it just sits there beautifully on the wall, and it's a beautiful shot of Obama and just the word hope. The art direction is incredible. You know, the style is beautiful, the personality, and it's a beautiful distillation of an idea that was basically used to convince a country that he was the man to lead, you know, that nation forward into the future. That was a poster. That was a print ad. That was a piece of two-dimensional communication that had incredible social potency. So, you know, I look to that, and that's a constant reminder to me, because I look at that and I go, okay, well, that's alive and kicking now in today's world. It's not a piece of tech, it's an idea.
Yeah.
And so I'm still a great believer in the power of words, the power of thinking, and the power of expression. And how we express ourselves through words, through pictures, through sound, through music. Those are still the fundamental building blocks of modern day communication.
There's been actually, it's interesting you should say that, because there's been a lot, certainly the theme of some of the topics actually has been around sort of content creation itself. I don't know whether you saw Kanye West
I missed that
session yesterday, but he had a very strong message, which I won't repeat exactly here. Yesterday, thought, you know, basically get the best content creators to be producing the best content, because you've got to raise the tone of you know, culture and move things along. You know, is that something you think advertising should be striving to do, is sort of raising the tone?
Well, I think raising the tone and moving with popular culture. You know, I think we have to. I think what technology has done has made us operate in real time, and I think to be socially potent, you have to be in sync, in tune, in step with society. So I think in the future we'll see a lot of content that moves in real time, in real space with people. I think advertising doesn't compete against advertising. Advertising competes with popular culture. And we have to be more interesting than the content that people can extract from popular culture. They have technology at their fingertips. They can connect to content that rewards them, that excites them, that engages them, that entertains them, that's interesting and stimulating and relevant to their life any second of any minute of any hour of any day. So I think that cross-section between entertainment, technology and communication is the sweet spot. I think that's where the future resides, and I think we see a lot more of that type of work in the future. And I like the fact there are people poking at what we do and stimulating and agitating the waters, because it forces us to rethink what we do and how we work and how we communicate and what type of content that we create and what human value we create. At the end of the day, we're in the value creation business. Everything that we do is about connection between people and a brand, but also it's about the exchange of content between people and brand, and that's two ways. And I think we're seeing a lot more interesting content being produced over time. And last year, you look at Intel, The Beauty Inside, was a beautiful, beautiful example of content that was relevant, that created mass human interest, and stuff that resonated with people in a fresh new way. You look this year for the work from Dentsu in Tokyo for Honda. You've got this incredible experiential piece with Ayrton Senna, The Sound of Honda, where they recreated this beautiful drive by arguably the greatest Formula One F1 racing driver of all time, and created a piece of content that engaged, an immersive experience that was incredibly potent, and an idea that's used technology to serve up something that's of mass interest to people, mass interest to F1 fans, and an experience that you never ever would have experienced before. So that type of content, from a brand like Honda that believes in tomorrow, that believes in the power of dreams, that believes in the power of ideas. This is technology creating content that serves a greater human purpose, and I think we'll see a lot. I'm interested to see the work that is selected in the branded content and branded entertainment this year. There's been a lot of really interesting work out there from many brands, and obviously lots of brands playing within that space, and it'll be interesting to see. So I'm really looking forward to that on Saturday.
I want to obviously ask you about Leo Burnett, how things are tracking here. Are you doing sort of as you're expecting?
Yeah, we've had a very successful week to date, and obviously we've got a long way to go. Tonight is the print and the radio and the design juries, plus the cyber juries will expose the winners of this year's Lions, and obviously Saturday night is the big night, because on Saturday night we have the titanium and integrated jury, and that's the space I'm most interested in, because that's tomorrow. That's new world thinking. That's where, as Dan Wyden, who was the creator of the titanium category, was looking to reward big, heart-pumping ideas that acted in a brave way, that celebrated risk, ideas that really defied the status quo, that bucked the category norms, and ideas that really kind of acted almost as a compass to the potential of where we could move to as an industry. So I'm hoping to see work that really challenges us to think differently, to evolve, and to embrace everything that's available to us at this moment in time. Obviously, film will make its way to the stage, and this year we've seen some remarkable films, some incredible films, not only from Volvo, Harvey Nichols, HBO Go, Procter & Gamble. We've seen incredible work, from, as I say, for Guinness. We've seen incredible work for the New Zealand Drug Council. So I'm looking to see that. I think that will be hugely entertaining. But I think the thing that we've done really well at this year is across the board, across most channels. On Saturday, started on Saturday night, because it's the inaugural Health Awards, the Health Lions, which, if you think of the pharma category and the health and wellness category, very, very tough terrain to play in. And so creativity really is the order of the day, and I think what the goal of the show is to focus on the power and value of creativity in modern day communication. And when you're operating in a box that's where it's a very small space to play in, the power and value of creativity goes through the roof and becomes far more valuable to a brand. And this is about life-changing creativity, which is the theme of the show. And I was delighted that we were awarded the most awarded network of the year at the inaugural show. And we also took home the Grand Prix for Good for a beautiful idea called Cancer Tweets from our Colombian office, which basically tracks cancer in real time in a virtual world with you. And it's a fascinating piece that uses technology in a new way that really creates that connective tissue with people. And it was fantastic to see that awarded for the very first time on the world stage. So the week began really well for us, being named Network of the Year. And of course then we segue into the bigger week. And we've done very well. Our offices in Brazil, in Sao Paulo, has done extremely well. I think they weigh up over 22, 23 lions to date, and I think we're only on Wednesday, so I think it's been a record year for them in terms of variety of ideas across all channels in all categories. So they've really had an amazingly successful Cannes to date. Sydney has performed well yet again, hot on the heels of the incredible year they had last year with Coca-Cola, Small World Machines. Again, they've repeated themselves this year with some amazing work, particularly for Samsung. The Samsung S-Drive safe driving program created to launch people has been incredibly well received at Cannes this year, and has resulted in 3 Cannes Lions for our office in Sydney and for the Australian market, so I'm delighted with that. Amazing performance by Paris for the Mimi Foundation, which is one of the beloved on Monday evening. And when you get that visceral reaction from 3,000 people in an auditorium, you have something of potency. And it was great to see that so well received and applauded, and obviously leaving with a gold line is huge. And they followed it up this evening with yet another gold line, this time for Jeep in the print category. Beautifully art-directed, beautifully conceived idea, and to win the automotive category, which is one of the toughest to operate in the subcategories within any one of the channels, is an incredible achievement. So I've seen great work from all 4 corners of the world. We've won across the globe, from Latin America right through to Australia and everything in between. So it's been very successful for us to date. And of course, our client McDonald's being proclaimed the Creative Marketeer of the Year is
so second client in 2 years.
Second client in 2 years for us. So it's great. Obviously, last year Coca-Cola took this incredible title, and to win the majority of lines that calendar year for Australia for Small World Machines was fantastic. And this year again, we follow suit with some interesting work from McDonald's, and to see them on stage and be awarded for recognition of their belief in the power of creativity. Because this is not a marketing award. This is not the best client or the client of the year. This is a client who passionately believes in the power and value of creativity. Believes in brave, new, creative ideas, that continually practices that type of idea in new ways across the world. Be it Australia, to celebrate the relationship that McDonald's has with the Australian public on the National Australian Day, Australia Day, and to change every sign in the country to Macca's, as it's well known in Australia. And that gesture is a celebration of a relationship that the Australian public have with that brand. And I think that's a brand that's acting in a very human way, that's creating enjoyment in a new way, in a way that people love. And of course, you move across the other side of the world, you look at the quality of work from the United Kingdom, from the UK, for McDonald's, great storytelling, again, celebration of a relationship, where the brand is inextricably linked to the product storyline, where it's about real people in the real world interacting with the brand in stories that just are real, authentic, believable and truthful, and they don't feel like advertising. And obviously Leo Burnett in the UK took the very first ever Cannes effectiveness line for the campaign that they produced in the UK, and over the course of the last 20 years McDonald's has become as British as fish and chips. So again, it's that lovely connective tissue they have with people. And I love the idea that a brand can be radically transparent. the work from Canada over the last 2 years, your question, our answers, where people can ask questions of the brand and the marketing director and the team address those questions.
That's now also happening in Australia as well.
Yeah, and I love that. I mean, I love the brand has the confidence and the belief in itself. But they're not trying to hide anything. They're just trying to share the truth and to use technology in a new way to create an open dialogue about the brand. And it's really designed to focus on improvement. How do we improve? How do we move forward? And how do we share that brand story in fresh new ways? So to take the stage on Saturday night and to pick up this accolade will be a great moment for everybody who's connected with the brand. And of course, Leo Burnett is not the only agency that works with McDonald's. DDB, TPWA, OMD, many agencies contribute to that brand story. But this is a client that has an appetite, an incredible appetite for great ideas. Believes in valuable, powerful, creative ideas. They're here en masse to learn, to be inspired, to get better. And under the leadership now of Steve Easterbrook, who's the new Worldwide Chief Marketing Officer, they have somebody who I think will drive that brand forward into the future and take it to the next level. So for us personally, from Leo Burnett's point of view, two clients being proclaimed the most creative marketer in the world 2 years in a row is great, and I'm delighted for them, more importantly.
Some of your clients are going to be asking you for now? Who are you going to get it for next year?
Well, my focus, as always, is for all of our clients. We try to do the best possible job we can for all of the clients we're privileged to work with and partner with. So, we endeavour to do it for everybody. So I hope, at some stage, every client that we have gets recognition for their belief in creativity. And I think the one thing that's coming back to why there are so many clients here in the south of France, 30% of the delegates are from the client community, because of the real value they place in what we do. And I think right now we're at the most exciting time ever in our industry. I think it's going to explode in the next 2 to 3 years. I think technology is constantly fueling everything. Data clearly is playing a much richer, bigger role in understanding behavior and targeting and allowing us to zone in on people. But we, in our quest to connect brands to people in meaningful ways, to connect brands to people through content creation, through ideas, what we make, I think that's really going to be the focus as we move forward, because that's the exciting part of what we do right now. We've got so many tools, so many opportunities to do that. And I think I will leave the south of France and return back to the United States on Monday, much richer for this experience. I will soak up as much as I physically can from what's on display, what's talked about. Some of the finest, most fertile creative minds on the planet are here.
Yeah.
They're sharing their thinking, they're sharing their ideas, they're challenging, they're poking at, they're suggesting new, they're confirming that the stuff that we're doing is great. How can we improve? So I love the fact that there's this relentless focus on ideas. At the end of the day, we are an ideas industry. And this is not an advertising festival, this is a festival of creativity. And creativity is the operative word. And big, brave, bold, future-facing ideas are the industry we're in. And we'll always be in that industry. And the fact that we can tell those stories in new ways is fantastic. But the only way that we will ever connect is through creating incredibly immersive, rich, rewarding content.
Fantastic. Look, Mark, that's all we've got time for, but thank you very much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much.